In this video, we will cover how to create an intervention in the GBV or Child Protection module of V4. The objectives of this video are to explain when to create an intervention, how to create an intervention, how to update an intervention, and when to close an intervention. So when we are creating an intervention, what we will do is we will log into, or we will continue in the GBV case that we are working on. It's oftentimes useful, based upon how long ago you entered in the information around the assessment, is you will want to review the assessment first. So I will scroll down to the assessment. I will click on the assessment and I will review my notes, my details, what I found, as well as then my recommendations. A hot tip would be I oftentimes will actually copy my recommendations so that I have them to paste then into my action plan. So once I've reviewed and I see where everything stands, then I would go back to my case. And the next step after that assessment is to do your case action plan. So prior to doing your interventions, you should already have your case action plan completed. All this is on the case form. There is a text box, a formatted text box with the action plan. Usually this will look very similar to what your recommendations are, but obviously modified based upon the desires and the wants of the survivor and of the reality on the ground. Basically, I will use interventions and referrals, which will be covered in another video, to then put into place my action plan. Now, what I'm going to do is right below the action plan, if I scroll down a little bit, you'll notice here is interventions. Interventions are very useful to help you track the actions that you are taking on a case. So when to create an intervention, it is important to think about what actions do you want to be able to track. Because the action plan is simply a text box, nothing there will ping you to tell you, oh, action is needed to be taken on this, or you should be following up. So any action that you want there to be some sort of a reminder or ability to track that action, you want to create an intervention for. To create an intervention, there are two ways. I can go up to the ribbon, click on add, and then add in an intervention. Also, I can click on the plus here and add an intervention. So basically, for each of these above recommendations, I'm going to click on an intervention. Even though I will also be creating referrals for those that I'm asking for action from somebody else, I also want to keep it here on my intervention as a reminder to follow up. So for the first, I have safety. We need to refer to the police, and then we need a safety plan. So my first intervention I'm going to add is going to be to escort that survivor to the police station. So when I create a new intervention, the form has general section, intervention description, any basic comments, and then it has, as we usually have on most forms, some of those views that allow you to reference kind of existing documentation and that sort of stuff. So when I look at my intervention details, all of these will be auto-populated when I save. I can change my intervention status once I've saved, but all of this will be automatically populated and I can't change until I've saved. So the main place where I will start my work here is going to be on this overview section. And so the first question is the intervention type. I'm going to look up, and I'm going to go to safety, or I can type the first one, safety. And then subtype will allow me, once I've selected my type, will allow me to then identify what is my specific action that I'm going to take. I'm going to look up more results so you can see. There's cash, community safety support, emergency safety shelter, personal safety support, removal from harmful situations, and other. I'm going to do other. And I'm going to say physical escort to police. And then I'm going to put the date that I started this on, which would have been on the 4th. If I have an end date, if there's anybody that I need to be contacting, so how I contacted the person, If there is intervention by, so who's doing this? This will be me. If there's a person that's not in progress, you would do it under other. The intervention by the service, if this was being done by a service unit instead, and then intervention service provider. So if this is someone else. So all of this is being done by me. So it's pretty straightforward in terms of what I need to do. This will be on the same day. I wouldn't fill this in until I have actually completed it, but since I will be going on the same day, I will do this here. Here are some specific needs for information. So basically, we'll escort the survivor. So just a description of what the action or the activity is. If there's any comments, again, so what I would do is I would make my intervention description at the time when I create the intervention. If there are any updates, I would create these in comments because it will add, as I save, it will add a date and a time. Everything else is just reference. So I can see if there are any other incidents, if there are any other referrals already given. I can look back at my assessment if I wanted to click on it here. To enable all of this, I would need to save. So basically now I will go up and I will save. And now, as I said, all of this on the intervention details will self-populate. Now, if I wanted to change my intervention status, so right now it's pending, but now I've gone, and so it's ongoing, and I'm going to change it, let's say it's today. I can do that. That is how I would update if there's any other additional information. So let's say now I have also new police appointment made for the 8th will and then when I save this, now my intervention has a new time and a date stamp, and I can see that it's ongoing. If I save and I close this, I now go down. I'm on my case form. I go below my action plan. Here's my intervention, and you can see this intervention, and it's ongoing. The other thing I had mentioned here on my recommendations was to add a safety plan. So again, I'll go to add another intervention. I will go to intervention type, and I will type in safety. Subtype safety plan. So I don't need a referral for it. I'm doing it today. We will complete it today. It's by me. And then completed the safety plan with the survivor during her first session. Okay, so I've completed my safety plan. So actually, once I save this, and now I have this here, I'm actually going to change this automatically to close because I finished this on this date. Then I have to give a closure reason, which is basically I have resolved this. And now I'm going to save and close. And if I go down, you will see under my action plan, here are my interventions. I have one ongoing, I have one closed. And so I would do this for each of the activities in my action plan. So health and medical treatment. So she had turned down medical care, psychosocial support. So we would put in follow-up. So we said another weekly meeting. For any psychosocial follow-up, I would go to intervention. I would create intervention type psychosocial support. And then here I'm going to do individual support. If I was referring somebody somewhere else to do this, then I could also then put who I'm sending this to, or this is going to be action by me. We're going to start this next week. I'm not going to put an end date because this will be weekly ongoing. I can contact her by in person, not any other way. This will be by me. Basically, I'm just documenting, so if anyone needed to know who's providing the support and where, you can do. And then we'll schedule weekly support for the first month. And then save and close. Now, if I go down to my action for this one, you'll notice that this is pending. So I'm not going to consider this ongoing until I've completed my first one. So you'll notice that the intervention start date is 11/1. So that hasn't happened yet. So here's the key to the interventions. This will allow you to look for a case that what actions still need to be taken, what actions are still ongoing, and what are closed. Your goal would be to have all of these interventions closed eventually. So if I notice that this start date is passed and this is still pending, I would need to follow up and make sure to see what is going on. So this is one way for me to track the status of actions within this case. In order to make this useful, though, it is very important to update these. So if this is now the 11th and this is pending, I will click here. If I had my first meeting with her, I will change to ongoing, and then I will add any new comments. First appointment, we have scheduled a second for the 14th. And I'm going to save and close. Oops, this is today. And now you can see, I'm scroll down, all of my interventions are ongoing, and the goal is to get them all moved to close. Once I have resolved all of the issues, if now we have gone to the police are aware, there's no more escorting, then I would then come and I would move this to close. I would create the status close date, let's say it's the 11th, and the reason is that there no further action is required. It's closed. And that is how you close an intervention. This concludes the video on how to create and update an intervention in proGres V4. Thank you.